Hi, everybody. First time streaming in a while. Sorry about that. Um, so I want to be doing something a little bit new today. I'm going into this privacy policy relatively blind. I haven't ever read this one. I skimmed it before stream just to kind of check the length of it, but that was it. Uh, so this is going to be new. Um, the reason I want to do it blind is because I want to kind of show my thought process behind reading a privacy policy from scratch, and I think that that could be helpful for folks. There is going to be a cut version of this, so it's easier for like people to just watch the privacy policy normally. But the live stream is going to be kind of like dissecting it live, which I think could be fun. It is longer than I was expecting. Um, it is like it's definitely longer than Signal. Um, I don't, it's definitely not as long as like Google. Um, but I'd say this is going to be like a solid half hour, 45 minutes. And maybe an hour since we're doing it live. But it was longer than I thought. I'm not going to lie. Let's see here. So I got to get the data breach was actually part of the reason I even thought to do the stream. However, I do want to clarify. Um, my Patreon members get to vote on the next privacy policy stream, and they unanimously voted for Steam to be the next one. I was amazed how many people wanted this one specifically, and that was way before that data breach. So that's just what happened to be next, and it was like, oh, perfect. Okay, well, that's good timing. I want to do these more frequently. Every week on Mondays is my goal. I figure earlier in the week I actually can, do it and then still feel like I can accomplish quite a lot on the main channel. So Apple is on the list. It is not the most requested though. Um, but it is definitely on the list of things to do. So don't you fret. I will be doing it before not the next video, but the following video because it's very related to that video. So yeah, no, I see data breaches and I see opportunities to read things. Also, when sponsors email me, I'm not gonna lie, that's getting pretty annoying. I would love to start picking on them a lot more. Uh, I guess we'll find out. So the privacy policy is kind of short in the sense that if you look at it from this view, it's not that long. It's just dense. So I didn't I think they added a lot of like EU stuff is my guess. I haven't looked again at the historical versions um or anything like that. Also, this view is like impossible for me to read because I'm 100 years old. So we will be clicking this fun little button, reader view on Firefox, to make my life a little bit easier. But I need to read the intro really quick since this is going to be cut down. Hello, everyone. Today we're going to be looking at Steam's privacy policy. As is tradition, I want to set some expectations before we get started. We will be using the Privacy Visualizer tool I made to help us better retain what has been read. If you want to follow along, you can pull it up yourself by going to privacyvisualizer.com or following the link in the description, which also has the related links to this privacy policy. As a quick recap, we will use blue to represent data that is collected, yellow for shared data, and red for sold data. We'll be using the definition of sold as described in the California Consumer Privacy Act, otherwise known as the CCPA. As we do with all readings in this channel, we will be reading with the assumption of worst case scenario. That means that if some data collection is optional, we will treat it as if it were collected, shared, or sold, depending on the surrounding context. We're reading this from the perspective of someone who clicks yes on whatever pop-ups might come up. One exception will be for business-to-business things. Most businesses come with their own contracts and policies, so it's not really relevant to the average person. Most people are not representing businesses, so we will ignore any sections related to that if they come up. As a reminder, the purpose of the Privacy Visualizer is to help us retain what we've read. It is not meant to summarize what we've read to others. You'll see as we read along that it oversimplifies things too much, and it doesn't give a full picture like the rest of this video would in its entirety. Please avoid using the Privacy Visualizer tool as a tool to summarize privacy policies. It is a tool to help you read privacy policies. If you want to learn more about that, check out the video on the main channel in the description. Okay. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure I got that out of the way. I have an editor for making these smaller, by the way, which is why I'm trying to treat this a little bit differently, which is going to make my life so much easier. That was always like the hardest part about making these videos was that. So if I can go in blind and we can have a good time with it and learn a bunch, I figure that's going to be fun. So, okay, without further ado, let's jump into it. So Steam, their website is store.steampowered.com, and we're going to scroll down to the very bottom, and we're going to click this privacy button here. And again, this text is really small for me as an ancient person with glasses. So I'm going to be using Firefox's reader view. I believe most browsers have an option like this. I'm going to change the theme too, just so it's a little bit nicer to look at. Isn't that nice? Hello. Look at all these people in chat. This is great. It's good seeing everybody. Okay. So this is the Steam Privacy Policy Agreement. Valve respects the privacy of its online visitors and customers of its products and services and complies with applicable laws for the protection of your privacy, including, without limitation, the California Consumer Privacy Act, otherwise known as CCPA, the European Union General Protection Regulation, GDPR, and the UK GDPR. The reason I don't use dark mode is because I don't want to use my computer at nighttime. If it's in dark mode, I'm going to be more incentivized to use it at night because it's more comfortable on my eyes at night. So I choose not to do it. I'm not 100. I'm in my 30s, but still, my eyes do genuinely suck. Like, I can't read tiny text. Tiny white text on a black background, nightmare fuel. 130s, wow. Thanks. I do go to bed at an unreasonable time and wake up at a similarly unreasonable time, so I'll give you that. I don't know if that was a secret, the age. I mean, I haven't given out my specific age, I don't think, but in my 30s is true. You know, you got a 10-year window. Which side of it? Am I in the middle? You don't know. Maybe I just turned 30. Maybe I'm 39. You'll never know. Anyways, Valve and its subsidiary TR Technical Incorporated comply with the EU-US Data Privacy Framework, EU-US DPF, and the UK extension to the EU-US DPF and the Swiss-US Data Privacy Framework, Swiss-US DPF, as set forth by the US Department of Commerce. Valve has certified to the U.S. Department of Commerce that it adheres to the EU-US Data Privacy Framework Principles, EU-US DPF principles, with regard to the processing of personal data received from the European Union in reliance on the EU-US DPF and from the United Kingdom and Whoa, how do you say that? Gibraltar? Gibraltar? That's my guess. Very fun. In reliance on the UK extension to the EU-US DPF, Valve is certified to the U.S. Department of Commerce that it adheres to the Swiss-US Data Privacy Framework Principles, Swiss-US DPS principles, with regard to the processing of personal data received from Switzerland in reliance on the Swiss-US DPF. If there is any conflict between these terms in this privacy policy and the EU-US DPF principles and or the Swiss-US DPF principles, the principles shall govern. To learn more about the Data Privacy Framework program and view our certification, please visit, and then they have their link there. Did I say mid-30s? Oh my god. Whatever. I guess I got. That shows me, huh? Gibraltar. Okay, I see. I was right. I got it. I was close. Look at that. Pretending like I know stuff about places and things. That's the big trick that I have on all of you, is that I didn't go to school. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoy the videos due to the privacy or to the kindness aspect of it. Oh yeah, I'm a big fan of fake birthdays. Big fan. And my Bitwarden is just riddled with notes about fake birthdays for all of the services I signed up for. Which I guess inherently kind of makes a database for all of the fake birthdays, which means that if my Bitwarden got breached, that would all be breached. But honestly, if my Bitwarden gets breached, I have way bigger problems to worry about than my birthdays. So, whatever. So, number 1, definitions. Wherever we talk about personal data, otherwise known as personal data below, we mean that any information that can either identify you as an individual, otherwise known as personally identifying information, or PII as some people call it, or that it can be connected to you indirectly by linking it to personally identifying information. Valve also processes anonymous data, aggregated or not, to analyze and produce statistics related to the habits, usage patterns, and demographics of customers as a group or individuals. Such anonymous data does not allow the identification of customers to which it relates. Valve may share anonymous data, aggregated or not, with third parties. Since we're in the definition section, we're going to keep reading before we start marking things off. But I can tell right off the bat, we got usage data. We have some identifiers, but we're going to get into more specifics in a bit. So I'm assuming. I mean, yeah, types of data we collect. Yeah, that makes, okay. That's pretty common for definitions to be at the top. So I do not remember most of my fake birthdays now. Ooh, January 1st, 1970 is the way to go. That's a good one. Because that's like the default reset for a lot of, what's the, oh, God. The timestamp thing. That's like the oldest starting point for, I cannot remember the name. Yeah, Unix Epoch. Thank you. Yeah. Ah, we love Epoch. Cool. Let's see here. Other capitalized terms in this privacy policy shall have the meanings defined in the Steam Subscriber Agreement, SSA. Oh, that's fun. So we should pull that up, just in case we have questions about things. Oh, it's another boring one. So let's see here. Oh, okay. Well, let's go back to the privacy policy for now. Okay. Why Valve collects and processes data. Valve collects and processes personal data for the following reasons. A, where it is necessary for the performance of our agreement with you to provide a full-featured gaming service and deliver the associated content and services. B, where it is necessary for compliance with legal obligations that we are subject to, example, our obligations to keep certain information under tax laws. C, where it is necessary for the purposes of legitimate and legal interests of Valve or third party, for example, the interests of our other customers, except where such interests are overridden by your prevailing legitimate interests and rights, or D, where you have given consent to it. These reasons for collecting and processing personal data determine and limit what personal data we collect and how we use it, Section 3 below, and how long we store it, Section 4 below, who has access to it, Section 5, and what rights and other control mechanisms are available to you as a user, Section 6. Very fun. Section 3, the types and sources of data we collect. 3.1, basic account data. All right, here's where we're going to start filling some stuff out. When setting up an account, Valve will collect your email address and country of residence. Okay, so I'm going to count that as contact info. And country of residence, I'm going to use location, but it is like a very broad location on that one. So keep that in mind. This is why I don't like summarizing it. Because the country it's a huge place, right? Let's see here. You are also required to choose a username and password. The provision of this information is necessary to register a Steam user account. That makes sense. We're going to call that an identifier as a username. And then during the setup of your account, the account is automatically assigned a number, the Steam ID, that is later used to reference your user account without directly exposing personally identifying information about you. That's going to be identifiers again. We do not require you to provide or use your real name for the setup of a Steam user account. Great, so that's optional. Love it. Email required, so it still counts as contact info, but that's pretty good. 3.2, transactions and payment data. In order to make a transaction on Steam, for example, to purchase subscriptions for content and services or to fund your Steam wallet, you may need to provide payment data to Valve to enable the transaction. If you pay by credit card, you need to provide typical credit card information, such as name, address, credit card number, expiration date, and security code to Valve, which Valve will process and transmit to the payment service provider of your choice to enable the transaction and perform anti-fraud checks. So that's going to be financial information. Likewise, Valve will receive data from your payment service providers for the same reasons. Cool. That makes sense. Bedtime stories for adults. Yeah, that's one way to look at it. The amount of people that legitimately tell me that they fall asleep watching these is really funny to me. I actually made a playlist on the main channel, or on this channel, called Privacy Policies to Fall Asleep To. So if you're one of those people that likes to listen to a fella talk you to sleep, I got you. To be clear, I'm also one of those people. I listen to way too many people and go to sleep. So I get it. 3.3, other data you explicitly submit. We will collect and process personal data whenever you explicitly provide it to us or send it to us part of communications with Steam, for example, in the Steam community forums, chats, or when you provide feedback or other user-generated content. Okay. This information includes information that you post, comment, or follow in any of our content and services, information sent through chat, information you provide to us when you request information or support from us or purchase content and services from us, including information necessary to process your orders with the relevant payment merchant or, in case of physical goods, shipping providers, information you provide to us when participating in competition contests, tournaments, or responding to surveys, for example, your contact details. It's interesting that they didn't put this example in parentheses like they have been. Fun little copy edit there. But user content is going to count as information that you post online, information that you chat, if you're contacting their support. And I was thinking, I want to look at this really quick. You may need to you need to provide card information. Okay, never mind. We're good there. Okay. 3.4, your use of the Steam client and websites. We collect a variety of information through your general interactions with the websites, content, and services offered by Steam. Personal data we may collect may include, but is not limited to, browser and device information, data collected through automated electronic interactions, and application usage data. Cool. So that is going to count as usage data. Likewise, we will track your process across our websites and applications to verify that you are not a bot in order to optimize our services. Cool. So the optimization of services is implied that it is used for diagnostics. So we're going to mark that off as well. And yeah, they only process across their websites, so we're not going to count that as browsing data. 3.5, your use of games and other subscriptions. In order to provide you with services, we need to collect, store, and use various information about your activity and our content and services. Content-related information includes your Steam ID, as well as what is usually referred to as game statistics. By game statistics, we mean information about your game's preferences, progress in the game's playtimes, as well as information about the device you are using, including what operating system you're using, and device settings, unique identifiers, and crash data. Cool. The progress of games is kind of usage data, so I think we're going to count that as that since that's your usage of the service. Things like unique device identifiers as identifiers, and crash data is going to be for diagnostics. So we already have all of that marked. Tracking data and cookies. We use cookies, which are text files placed on your computer, and similar technologies, for example, web beacons, pixels, ad tags, and device identifiers, to help us analyze how users use our services, as well as to improve the services we are offering, to improve marketing, analytics, or website functionality. The use of cookies is standard on the internet. That's true. Although most web browsers automatically accept cookies, the decision of whether to accept or not is yours. You may adjust your browser settings to prevent the reception of cookies or provide a notification whenever a cookie is sent to you. You can manage the use of optional cookies by clicking the Cookie Settings page, accessible via the cookie banner displayed when you first visit our website, and at any time through the Cookie Settings page available here. When you visit any of our services, our servers log your IP address, which is a number that is automatically assigned to your network, to the network that your computer is a part of. Okay. Technically, since they mention to help us analyze how our users use the services, as well as improve the services we are offering. I don't think they are using it. They don't specifically call out what website referred you, so I don't think we're actually going to count browsing data for the cookies. It seems to be just theirs, so that's actually kind of nice. Thanks, Katie Sketch, for explaining how my little dude works. Yeah, it's literally just a looping video that happens to line up with what I'm saying pretty frequently. I got pretty lucky on that. Okay. Content recommendations. We may process information collected under the Section 3 so that content, products, and services are shown on the pages of the Steam Store, and an update messages displayed when launching the Steam client can be tailored to meet your needs and populated with relevant recommendations and offers. This does improve your customer experience. Oh, this is done to improve your customer experience. I'm sorry. You can prevent the processing of your data in this way by turning off the automatic loading screen of the Steam Store page and of the Steam notifications in the interface section of the Steam client settings. I didn't know you could change that. That's actually pretty good to know. Processing information about that I would fall under usage data, because again, it's how you're using the platform. Valve may send you marketing messages about products and services that are similar to goods and services you have previously requested from Valve to your email address where you have given explicit consent. In such case, we may also use your collected information to customize such marketing messages, as well as collect information on whether you opened such messages and which links to the text you followed. Okay, I am going to count that as browsing data, because they're identifying when you interact with emails, which is outside of their service. So I am totally counting that. People say that Steam is just a Chrome install, but I wonder how literal that is. Is it Chromium based? I can't imagine it is. Steam has been around for a very long time. I mean, I guess Chromium has been too, but that would surprise me. Oh, it is Chromium. Okay. Look at that. We'll have a deeper look at that in a minute. That's actually, I want to look more into that. That's interesting. Um, does Steam reserve the right to raid you if you violate their online conduct? That would be a part of their usage agreement, not the privacy policy. So I'm technically not sure. Okay, so see, I was thinking that the time when they weren't, so that's interesting that they switched. I didn't know they'd switched. Very fun. Let's see here. You can opt out or withdraw your consent to receiving marketing emails at any time by either withdrawing the consent on the same page where you previously provided it or clicking the unsubscribe link provided in every marketing email. Alternatively, you can select what kinds of emails you wish to receive on the email settings page. Information required to detect violations. We collect certain data that is required for our detection, investigation, and prevention of fraud, cheating, and other violations of the SSA and applicable laws or violations. This data is used only for the purposes of detection, investigation, prevention, and where applicable, acting on such violations and stored only for the purpose of the minimum amount of time needed for this purpose. I'm going to get a quick drink. I recommend everybody does the same. The 3D visualizer is it exists still, but it is a pain in the butt to do in OBS. I was doing that manually in a video editor. It was literally hundreds of layers. It was ridiculous. So that's why it's literally just the web page right now, because it's way easier to deal with like editing. Because now it's just a video to edit. So it is cool. I really like the way the 3D visualizer looks. But oh my god, it is a nightmare to actually deal with if something breaks. So yeah, I think I did have it in one stream at one point, but I lost the config in OBS when I wiped my computer. So that's where that went. Honestly, an app that renders it is a good idea. Uh, I do agree that would be that's a good idea. I'll figure something out. Oh, you know what? I actually have StreamerBot now. I probably could make it a lot easier now. I didn't know how StreamerBot worked before, um, but now I do, and I love it. For example, if someone did a super chat, not that I'm saying somebody should right now, but if someone were to do that, it would pop up on the screen, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I'll look into adding that again. That's a good point. It did add a nice little flair to everything, so I'll give you that. Okay, I'm gonna start over on 3.8 if everybody's okay with that. Information required to detect violations. We can collect certain data that is required for detection, investigation, and prevention of fraud, cheating, and other violations of the SSA and applicable laws or violations. This data is used only for the purpose of detection, investigation, prevention, and where... Don't tell me what to do. I should have seen that coming. That's on me. This data is only used for the purposes of detection, investigation, prevention, and where applicable, acting on such violations, and stored only for the minimum amount of time needed for this purpose. If the data indicates that a violation has occurred, we will further store the data for the establishment, exercise, or defense of legal claims during the applicable statute of limitations or until a legal case related to it has been resolved. Please note that the specific data stored for this purpose may not be disclosed to you if the disclosure were, sorry. Please note that the specific data stored for this purpose may not be disclosed to you if the disclosure will compromise the mechanism through which we detect, investigate, and prevent such violations. So, for clarity, I'm using Linux Mint on the computer that I'm streaming from, which is being fed into a capture card, which is plugged into a laptop that runs both Mint and Windows. And for the live streams, because I want to use StreamerBot, which is fantastic, by the way, I am currently running Windows from the device that I'm streaming from, technically. So, it's I know it's incredibly disappointing, but it works. So I don't know. I think StreamerBot also works on Mac OS, so I am considering switching it up at some point. But this laptop is really good at handling stuff like this, so I'm just rolling with it for now. I'm not looking to spend a bunch of extra money, so use what you got. Yeah, I know, betrayal. I know. I can't express how true it is that. Have you seen the what's that famous movie with the red skeleton and the purple guy that's getting all the rocks? He's the skeleton guy tells purple rock collector, like, "Oh, hey, I guide others to a treasure I cannot possess myself," and that's how I feel, cause you know. I'm a YouTuber. I inherently do have a lack of privacy. Oh, it is Avengers. That's yeah, the alien rock collector. Oh, Endgame. That's the one. It's just a Lenovo laptop that uh I got a while ago. I think I got it no, it wasn't last year. It's like 2 years ago. Um, I the I I know that there are StreamerBot Linux things, but they all say that they're not supported. And like, you know me, I'm all about stability. So I'm not trying to mess with that. Heck yeah, 2011 MacBook Air. I still use a 2013 Mac. Well, I don't still use it. I got it specifically for using my iPods, but I use a 2013 Mac Pro for handling all of my iTunes stuff, and it's just on the oldest version of Mac OS it could possibly run. Sorry, I got distracted. Y'all are very good at that. I actually have you on my main screen now. Like, I'm literally looking at what you're seeing on stream, which is cool. I've never been able to do that before, so I can see chat just exactly where you can see it. Okay, how long we store data. Ooh, I like this. We will only store your information as long as necessary to fulfill the purposes for which the information is collected and processed, or where the applicable law provides. Oh, wait. Was this disclosure? No. Okay, sorry. I just wanted to double check. Where the applicable law provides for longer storage and retention period for the storage and retention period required by that law. Oh, the CD drive is so good. I have an external one for my Mac Pro. After that, your personal data will be detected. Sorry. After that, your personal data will be deleted, blocked, or anonymized as provided by applicable law. In particular, if you terminate your Steam user account, your personal data will be marked for deletion, except to the degree legal requirements or other prevailing legitimate purposes dictate longer storage. In certain cases, personal data cannot be completely deleted in order to ensure the consistency of the gameplay experience or the Steam community market. For instance, matches you have played that affect other players' matchmaking data, and scores will not be deleted. Rather, your connection to these matches will be permanently anonymized. Please note that Valve is required to retain certain transaction data under statutory, commercial, and tax law for a period of up to 10 years. If you withdraw your consent on which a processing of your personal data or of the personal data of which your child is based, we will delete your personal data or respectively the personal data of your child without undue delay to the extent that the collection and processing of the personal data was based on the withdrawn consent. I hate the way that one reads. That just not like because it's like bad or anything. It's just like my brain did not like reading it. If you exercise a right to object to the processing of your personal data, we will review your objection and delete your personal data that we processed for the purpose to which you objected without undue delay, unless another legal basis for the processing and retaining of this data exists, or unless applicable laws requires us to retain the data. Yeah, that some of these legalese can just get kind of confusing. So basically, they retain the data for as long as they legally need it. In the case of transaction data, they keep it up to 10 years, and that is the only information that they seem to specify for that time period. So if my friend bought an adult game and they still have the transaction record for that for 10 years, right? Yep, in theory, they do. It says certain transactional data, so it might not contain the game name. It probably has the game name attached to it, honestly. I don't know. That's a good question. Should reach out to support to find out. Or, I mean, your friend should. Your friend should reach out to support. Okay, who has access to your data? Valve does not sell personal data. However, we may share or provide access to each of the categories of personal data we collect as necessary for the following business purposes. Okay, so it sounds like we're not going to get any red, but we're going to get some orange. Valve and its subsidiaries may share your personal data with each other and use it to the degree necessary to achieve the purposes listed in Section 2 above. In the event of reorganization, sale, or merger, we may transfer personal data to the relevant third parties subject to applicable laws, the principles, and liability requirements under the DPF. I want to double check something. Did they specify that all of this was personal data that we talked about? This is usually what I do beforehand when I'm like looking like when I'm taking notes and stuff, I like figure out what is personal data. So personal data, meaning any information that can either identify you as an individual or can be connected to you. So it is everything. Okay. Wow. Okay. I mean, that keeps things simple, at least. Yeah, sharing it with themselves is honestly pretty standard. So, since Valve and its subsidiaries as themselves, I'm not going to count that as shared because that's just themselves. But looks like we're still going on a little bit here. We may also share your personal data with our third-party service providers that provide customer support and services in connections with goods, content, and services distributed via Steam. Your personal data will be used in accordance with this privacy policy and only as far as is necessary for providing customer support services. Valve complies with the principles for all onward transfers. Valve complies with the principles for all onward transfers of personal data from the EU, Switzerland, and the UK, including the provisions governing onward transfer liability. Cool. I technically do have Steam, but I don't play many games, if I'm being completely honest. So Let's see here. So technically, they don't specify what. So, because they just said personal data, we're just going to mark off everything because that was the definition that they gave us from above. In accordance with the internet standards, we may also share certain information, including your IP address and the identification of Steam content you wish to access, with our third-party network providers that provide content delivery networks, services, and game server services in connection with Steam. Our content delivery network providers enable the delivery of digital content you have requested, and again, no parentheses for this example. For example, when using Steam by using a system of distributed servers that deliver the content to you based on your geographic location. Okay, so again, we already kind of got all that jotted down there based on that last one. Oh yeah, Kerbal Space Program and Portal 2. Those are definitely like the biggest games that the most hours I've put into games on Steam, for sure. Oh boy, this is a beefy section. All right. We make certain data related to your Steam user account available to other players and our partners through the Steamworks API. This information can be accessed by anyone by querying your Steam ID. At a minimum, the public persona of your name you have chosen to represent you on Steam and your avatar picture are accessible this way, as well as whether you have received a ban for cheating in a multiplayer game. The accessibility of any additional information about you can be controlled through your Steam community user profile page. Data publicly available on your profile page can be accessed automatically through the Steamworks API. In addition to the publicly available information, game developers and publishers have access to certain information from the Steamworks API directly relating to the users of the game they operate. This information includes, as a minimum, your ownership of the game in question. Depending on what Steamworks services are implemented in the game, it may also include leaderboard information, your progress in the game, achievements you have completed, your multiplayer game matchmaking information, in-game items, and other information needed to operate the game and provide support for it. Okay, that's pretty different. I'm going to count that as other data because it's so specifically related to the development of games and that information being provided to those developers. That doesn't, I know that's like kind of usage data, but it's like a hyper specific kind. So that's interesting. For more information on what Steamworks services a specific game has implemented, please review its store page. While we do not knowingly share personally identifying information about you through the Steamworks API, such as your real name or your email address, any information you share about yourself on your public Steam profile can be accessed through the Steamworks API, including information that may make you identifiable. That's an interesting section. I do like how explicit they are with it. There's no, I'm not questioning what data, exists there now. I didn't know that. Hey, thanks for watching that video. I got a new one coming out sometime next week. Let's see. The Steam community includes message boards, forums, and/or chat areas where users can exchange ideas and communicate with each other. When posting a message to a board, forum, or chat area, please be aware that the information is being made publicly available online, therefore, you are doing so at your own risk. If your personal data is posted on one of our community forums against your will, please use the reporting function and the Steam help site to help request its removal. Ooh. That's pretty fun. I can show you the intro to the video after this, too. Like, it's basically done. It's very close. Valve may allow you to link your Steam user account to an Valve may use... Man, my brain is I need another sip of liquid. Everybody, make sure to consume liquid. The clip that I'll be showing you is not the car sensor stuff, but it is a part of that same video. I think the Patreon members, at least on Sapling and Mighty Tree, I'm pretty sure they've seen the intro to this. I think. I actually don't know. I don't remember. Am I a coffee guy or a tea person? I unfortunately have become a coffee guy because of this job. I never in my life drank coffee before doing YouTube full time, and I am trying my best to not get addicted to it, but that's clearly not how that works. So I only drink it. I try to only drink it 1 to 2 times a week. So, ooh, weather privacy policies could be fun. Katie, can you write that down on the ideas list? I actually really like that one. That's a fun idea. I really like that. Discord's privacy policy will be next week. I have also previously done the privacy policy on the main channel, but we'll be doing the updated version next week because that was the second most requested stream from Patreon members over at patreon.com/redirectconvenience. I'm getting better at selling that, I think. Okay. Let's see here. Valve may allow you to link your Steam user account to an account offered by a third party. If you consent to link the accounts, Valve may collect and combine information you allowed Valve to receive from a third party with information of your Steam user account to the degree allowed by your consent at the time. If the linking of the accounts requires the transmission of information about your person from Valve to a third party, you will be informed about it before the linking takes place, and you will be given the opportunity to consent to the linking and the transmission of your information. The third party's use of your information will be subject to the third party's privacy policy, which we encourage you to review. I agree. Valve may release personal data to comply with court orders, such as laws, regulations that require us to disclose such information. Classic. I'm going to get through this next section and then I'll have a look back at chat. Your rights and control mechanisms. The data protection laws of the European Economic Area, United Kingdom, Switzerland, California, I love that, and other territories grant to their residents certain rights in relation to their personal data. While other jurisdictions may provide fewer statutory rights, we make the tools designed to exercise such rights available to our customers worldwide. Hey, look at that. So they comply with all of the laws and give that to everybody. That's sick. Wait, I've never seen a privacy policy call that out. That's the coolest thing I've ever seen. Can we get W's in chat for Steam for that? That's cool. We're gonna look at like what the actual details of that are, but what an amazing call out. More privacy policies need to do that. That's so cool. That's so cool. Okay. When we talk about the GDPR in the section, we mean the version of the GDPR that applies to you in the EU or UK. To allow you to exercise your data protection rights in a simple way, we are providing a dedicated section of the Steam support page, the Privacy Dashboard. This gives you access to your personal data, allows you to rectify and delete where necessary, and object to its use where you feel necessary. To access it, log into the Steam support page and choose the menu items, My Account, Data related to your Steam account. In most cases, you can access, manage, or delete personal data in the privacy dashboard, but you may also contact Valve with questions or requests via the contact process described in sections 8 and 10 below. As a visitor to the Steam website without you being logged in, you can control cookie settings through the process described in section 3.6 above. You can also contact Valve or its European representatives through the contact info provided in section 8 below to exercise your rights or use this web form. As a resident of the European Economic Area, UK, or Switzerland, you have the following rights in relation to your personal data. Rights of access. You have the right to your personal data that we hold about you. You have the right to access your personal data that we hold about you. For example, the right to require free of charge information, whether your personal data is retained, access to and or duplicates of the personal data retained. You can also use the right to access your personal data through the privacy dashboard if the request affects the rights and freedoms of others or is manifestly unfound or excessive. We reserve the right to charge a reasonable fee, taking into the account the administrative cost of providing the information or communication taking the action requested, or refuse the act of the request. I had no idea companies could charge a fee for doing that. That's interesting. I mean, it seems like it only happens in like really extreme situations, but that's interesting. I've never heard of that. Let's see. I'm gonna catch up on chat really quick. I will be doing Blue Sky soon. They are pretty high up on the list of requests that I got over on Patreon. GitHub is also on the list. Pretty sure Telegram's on the list. Also, don't use Telegram. Use something like Signal. Like, please don't use Telegram. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Microsoft is definitely on there. Signal was already done. Yep. Isn't WhatsApp Meta? I'll double check. I know WhatsApp has been requested before, so I'll double check that. But Meta is also one of the more popular ones that we'll be doing very soon, in probably a couple weeks. I don't know that Meta made WhatsApp, but I know they bought WhatsApp for sure. Like, they definitely own WhatsApp. Yeah, I don't know if it does have a separate privacy policy. I know that they have, like, different use cases for encryption and stuff like that. So I would be really surprised if they shared the same privacy policy. How's Steam's privacy policy holding up compared to the other tech giants? I mean, it's better so far. They've been much more explicit about the kinds of data that they collect. They've been much more clear in saying, like, hey, we give privacy controls that are required by law to not just the people that live in those areas, but also to everybody. So basically, the stricter the laws that are applied globally, Steam will just give that kind of that to everybody, which is actually kind of cool. Yeah, so it was one of the co-founders that made WhatsApp. Was one of he wasn't the guy that made Signal, but he was an early investor. He left Facebook after it was bought out because Mark Zuckerberg wanted to start. I don't remember if it was because he wanted to like change the way encryption worked. I think he wanted to add advertising to WhatsApp. I think that's what it was. And so he left and then invested like millions of dollars in Signal, which was made by a different person. ISPs would be really interesting. That's fascinating. The GOG policy, I'm looking back at some of the previous ones. GOG policy is on the list from Patreon recommendations. Persona is on the list as well. The colors, oh yeah, so the colors mean gray means nothing. They don't touch it. Blue means that the data is collected. Orange/yellow means that the data is shared, and red means that it's sold. This privacy policy did specifically state that they do not sell user data, so this is probably as bad as it's going to get for the visualizer. All right, I'm going to get back to reading this since we're almost done, and then we'll have a preview of the next video. Right to rectification. If we process your personal data, we shall endeavor to ensure by implementing... I'm going to start that over. Slow down a little bit. If we process your personal data, we shall endeavor to ensure by implementing suitable measures that your personal data is accurate and up to date for the purposes for which it was collected. If your personal data is inaccurate or incomplete, you can change the information you provided via the privacy dashboard. Rights to erasure. You have the right to obtain deletion of personal data concerning you have the right to obtain deletion of personal data concerning you if the reason why we would collect it, see section 2 above, does not exist anymore, or if there is another legal ground for its deletion. For individual items of personal data, please edit them through the privacy dashboard or request the deletion via the Steam support page. You can also request a deletion of your Steam user account via the Steam support page. As a result of deleting your Steam account, you will lose access to Steam services, including the Steam user account subscriptions and game-related information linked to the Steam user account, and the possibility to access other services you are using the Steam user account for. We will allow you to restore your Steam user account during a grace period of 30 days from the moment you request the deletion of your Steam user account. This functioning allows you to not lose your account by mistake because of your loss of your account credentials or due to hacking. During the suspension period, we will be able to finalize financial and other activities that may have been initiated before sending the Steam user account deletion request. After the grace period, personal data associated with your account will be deleted to subject section 4 above. Yeah, obtain deletion is such a weird way to phrase that. I've never seen it phrased like that, but whatever. That might be the language that's required by some of those newer laws that I haven't caught up on yet. Okay. In some cases, deletion of your Steam user account, and therefore personal data deletion, is complicated. Namely, if your account has a business relationship with Valve, such as due to your work for a game developer, you will only be able to delete your Steam user account after you have been transferred this role to another user or have dissolved the business relationship. In some cases, considering the complexity and number of the requests, the period of personal data erasure might be extended, but for no longer than 2 further months. That's interesting. Right to object. When processing of your personal data is based on legitimate interest according to Article 6.1f of the GDPR, Section 2C of this privacy policy, you have the right to object this processing. If you object, we will no longer process your personal data unless there are compelling and prevailing legitimate grounds for the processing as described in Article 21 of the GDPR. In particular, if the data is necessary for the establishment, exercise, or defense of legal claims. You may also have the right to lodge a complaint at a supervisory authority. Right to restriction and processing of your personal data. You have the right to obtain restriction of process. See, it's that language again. That's really interesting. Right to restriction of the processing of your personal data. You have the right to obtain restriction of the processing of your personal data under the conditions set out in Article 18 of the GDPR. Right to personal data portability. You have the right to receive your personal data in a structured, commonly used, and machine-readable format, and have the right to transmit those data to another controller under the conditions set out in Article 20 of the GDPR. Valve makes your personal data available in structured HTML format through the privacy dashboard as described above. Very cool. By the way, if you've never done a personal data request from um, any of these companies that we've looked at in the past, I highly recommend you do it if you have an account with them. That can it can be a really, really great way to better understand what the data actually is in relation to what we've read, because sometimes just seeing things like identifiers doesn't really feel like it means anything, but when you actually see a list of identifiers that are related to you, then you can kind of get a better idea of how that is specifically related to this privacy policy. Right to post-mortem control of your privacy data. If French data protection legislation is applicable to you, you have the right to establish guidelines for the preservation, the deletion, and the transmission of personal data after your death in accordance with Article 40-1 of the Act Number 78-17 of 6 January 1978 on information technology, data files, and civil liberties. 6.8 Arbitration. If Valve does not resolve any claimed violations of the principles by any other DPF mechanism or by your rights under this section, you have, in accordance, I wonder what that symbol is. You have, in accordance with the requirements of Annex 1 to the DPF, the possibility to invoke binding arbitration before the EU-US Data Privacy Framework Panel. I need to look into what that is. I've never... all this DPF stuff. That's wild. Children. The minimum age to create a Steam account is 13. Valve does not knowingly collect personal data from children under this age. When certain countries apply a higher age of consent for the collection of personal data, Valve requires parental consent before a Steam user account can be created and personal data associated with its collection. Valve encourages parents to instruct their children to never give out personal information when online. I agree. Don't give out personal information. Contact info. You can contact Valve's data protection officer at the address below. While we review any request sent by mail, please be aware that to combat fraud, harassment, and identity theft, the only way to access, rectify, or delete your data is through logging in with your Steam user account and selecting the menu items My Account, View Account Data. In compliance with the EU-US DPF, the UK extension to the EU-US DPF, the Swiss US DPF, Valve commits to resolve DPF principles related to complaints about our collection and use of your personal information. EU, UK, and Swiss individuals with inquiries or complaints regarding our handling of personal data received in reliance on the EU-US DPF, the UK extension to the EU-US DPF, and the Swiss US DPF should first contact Valve at, and then they got all of those addresses and contact information. I'm not going to read all of those because it's specific to whatever region you're in, and I don't want to read all those names. Gonna get a quick sip of water. Highly encourage everybody does the same. Alrighty. Additional information for users from the European Economic Area, UK, and Switzerland. As a US-based company that operates a worldwide gaming service, we may transfer your personal data outside of the European Economic Area and the United Kingdom or Switzerland. In such case, we take additional steps to ensure your personal data is protected by appropriate legal safeguards and that is treated securely in accordance with this privacy policy. In this respect, Valve has implemented appropriate contractual and organizational measures to ensure the confidentiality, security, and integrity of user data in connections with its collection, processing, and transfer. Measures we have taken include, among other things, minimization of data collection, in particular the possibility to set up and operate anonymous accounts, pseudonymization of data, industry standard encryption, provisioning of access to data on a need-to-know basis, the use of standard contractual clauses in their version in force. The use of standard contractual clauses in their version in force and approved by the European Commission and the UK ICO safeguard transfers, certification and participate. Oof, man, my brain is not loving the word participation. There we go. Certification and participation in the DPF set out in the DPF list available at, and then there's a link there that is not a hyperlink, which I find fascinating. In compliance with EU-US DPF, we're just going to call all of these DPF. I think from here on out, these are incredibly wordy, and I hate reading it over and over. In compliance with the various DPF, Valve commits free of charge to the affected individual to cooperate and comply respectively with the advice of the panel established by the EU Data Protection Authorities, DPAs, the UK Information Commissioner's Office, ICO, and the Gibraltar Regulatory Authority, GRA, the Swiss Federal Data Protection and Information Commissioner, FDPIC, with regard to unresolved complaints concerning our handling of personal data received in reliance on the various DPFs. Links to the websites of each authority are available below. Very fun. Federal Trade Commission has jurisdiction over Valve's compliance with the various DPFs. Additional information for users from California. The CCPA grants California residents certain privacy rights regarding to the personal data we collect. We are committed to respecting these rights and complying with the CCPA. The following explains these rights and Valve's practices to respect them. Right to know. Under the CCPA, you have the right to request that we disclose what personal data we collect, use, disclose, and sell. Right to request deletion. You also have the right to request deletion of personal data that is in our possession, subject to certain exceptions. Please note that your request to delete data may impact your use of the Steam services in some cases, and we may decline to delete information for reasons set forth in this policy or as permitted by the CCPA. Other rights. The CCPA also gives California residents a right to opt out from the sale of their personal data. As described in Section 5, we do not sell personal data and have not done so in the past 12 months. You also have the right to receive notice of our practices at or before collection of your personal data. Finally, you have a right to not be discriminated. Oh, man. You have a right to not be discriminated against for exercising your rights under the CCPA. Oh, we're almost done. Exercising your rights. The primary meanings of accessing, managing, or deleting your personal data is through the privacy dashboard, as described in Section 6 of this policy. Customers may also delete their Steam account and associated personal data as described in Section 6.3 of this policy. If you are unable to access or delete data through the privacy dashboard, you can also contact us with a request to exercise these rights using the form found at this link. To verify your identity, you will need to log in with your Steam user account to use the form. Finally, you can contact us with a request at questions@valvesoftware.com. However, before providing access to or deleting any personal data based on request via email, we will need to verify your identity utilizing the proof of ownership process described at this link. Metas, I've read metas before. It is very fun. I mean, like, not like good, but it'll be a fun stream for sure. We'll have a blast with that one. You may designate in writing or through a power of attorney an authorized agent to make requests on your behalf to exercise your rights under the CCPA. Before accepting such requests from an agent, we will require the agent to provide proof that you have authorized it to act on your behalf, and we may need you to identify or verify your identity directly with us. Categories, sources, purposes, and recipients of the data we collect. Over Over the preceding 12 months, we have collected. This is what legalese does to my brain, by the way. I start saying nonsense words like collectigated. God. Over the preceding 12 months, we have collected the categories of personal data described in Section 3 of this privacy policy, the sources from which we collect personal data, and the purposes for which we collect and process it are described in Sections 2 and 3. Over the preceding 12 months, we have disclosed for business purposes each of the categories of personal data with the categories of third parties as described in Section 5. This was last updated February 14th, Valentine's Day, 2025. There we go. That's the whole thing. Again, they don't sell user data. Don't use the privacy visualizer to summarize information. I'm also not going to be going backwards and reviewing why each thing was marked, because I found that in the last video, people were just skipping to the end and just watching that part. And that's the opposite of the point of this. If you want to learn why the things that are marked the way that they are, watch the entire thing. Cool. So I'll say at this point, we'll cut the stream off, but I promised you guys a little preview, didn't I? Yeah, purchases did surprise me a little bit. That's probably going to be like, so the Steam library is user content. Well, is it user content? I guess it would be they definitely did other. There was a lot of weird other stuff, but so I think the reason that purchases don't count is that you can get games for free on Steam. So that's interesting. Yeah, that was interesting. I did re-look at that section before. Yeah, they did collect financial information, but I wanted to look at purchase history, and I didn't see it when we were reading that. So that was definitely fun. Let's see here. How can I show you a preview of this video? Here, let me
right, front, left.
Can you guys hear that? The front, right,
front,
left.
Left.
Oh, it didn't seem that it was relevant to what we were looking at. That other thing. They were just further definitions. Cool. Thanks everybody for confirming. Let's see here. Let's go to the beginning. Okay. Are you guys ready for the preview of the next video?
For the past decade, nearly every vehicle made for American roads has been equipped with tools used for mass surveillance. The collected data has been used to hike your insurance premiums, estimate your intelligence, and empower stalkers and domestic abusers' ability to track and control their victims. There are up to 200 million of these surveillance vehicles in use today, including those made by these companies shown here. They collect, share, and sell so much more data than what you would expect. Using the Privacy Visualizer tool I developed a couple years ago, you can see that these companies are not only competing with companies like Google, they're outright surpassing them.
That's all you're going to get. I also do need to correct the screenshot for Subaru. They did update it recently, which does actually specify which categories of data are sold, and it is less than I had originally marked there. So, which is good, but, you know, it's still way more than it should be. So, yeah, it's coming out real soon. I'm just waiting on a couple visuals and waiting on one extra thing. that I wasn't actually anticipating to put in the video. I think it'll be live on Patreon on the 15th. But I think it'll be on YouTube the following day. I'm really excited to share this one. So Patreon's only going to get it a day early because I'm really I think this is a good one. Also, the video is only like 20 minutes long. Actually, not that bad. So haven't made a shorter video in a while. You're on your way to pick up the free Telly TV. I love convenience. What the heck? Madness. Absolute madness. Hashtag shorts? What are we talking about with shorts? I wasn't paying attention. I'm sorry. Oh, I see. Thanks. I didn't realize. Yes, Kia was on that list. Basically, if they sell a car in the United States, it's on the list. I also missed a couple companies because they're owned by a bunch of those other companies listed there. So it's like, technically I didn't show them, but their privacy policies are the same. I think a good example of that was Volvo, for example. I think Volvo. It might have been Lincoln. I don't remember. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed that. Thanks for joining me. Learned a little bit about Steam. I sure did. And yeah, I hope everybody has a great rest of your day. We're going to be uploading the Google cut down to this channel on Friday. Slate does have a privacy policy, and it is the best one so far that I've read. But I didn't include it in the video because they technically don't sell cars yet. So, like, nobody has a Slate. Like, no normal person has a Slate, so I didn't count it. It's like a sold vehicle in the US, you know? But their privacy policy was actually decent. So, I do want to call that out. I also don't want to shout out companies anymore. Generally, they love taking advantage of my opinions, and I hate that. So, the car insurance thing is actually mentioned in the video. So you'll have to wait and see the video. Probably on Sunday, maybe Monday. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, the insurance side of this is crazy. That's also not the craziest thing. Like, I know most people think the car insurance aspect of cars collecting data is the craziest thing, but it's not. It gets so much dumber. Sorry, I'm really bad. I got that Midwestern condition where I'm really bad at saying goodbye. So